The morning after my wedding, I woke up with my makeup still smudged and my mother-in-law's words echoing in my head like a cursed refrain. "You're not enough for my son." She said it in a low voice, right as she was placing the veil on me, as if it were some twisted blessing. I tried to ignore it, thought it was just another burst of cruelty on an important day. But what I didn't know was that only a few hours later, the bank would send me an alert. $10 million, under my mother-in-law's name, had been frozen on suspicion of fraud. And suddenly, my wedding became the beginning of a family war, where much more was at stake than just a marriage. Hidden inheritances, forged signatures, threats in the middle of the night, and secrets buried for years. The hearing at the courthouse had ended, and I felt the air was heavier. The judge had ordered that the $10 million in my mother-in-law's name remain frozen until everything was reviewed. It wasn't the final victory, but for the first time I saw Teresa, the woman who had whispered at my wedding that I wasn't enough for her son, lose control. Alvaro, my husband, walked beside me in silence. He didn't speak, but it was clear. He was devastated. He finally understood that his mother wasn't just strict, she was capable of anything to maintain power and money. That same night, strange things began to happen. At 2 a.m, a car parked in front of our building, with its engine running. 10 minutes later, it shut off. A little while later, I received a message from an unknown number. "You know too much for your own good." I shivered. I showed it to Alvaro. He looked at me seriously and said, "It's her. This is how it always starts. First they try to scare you, and if you don't give in, they'll try something worse." I saved the message and sent it to Sophia, our lawyer. She replied immediately, "Don't delete anything. Tomorrow I'll send an expert to trace the number, and please don't go out alone." The next morning, my mom showed up unexpectedly with a container of refried beans and sweetbread. She hugged me tight and said, "So you remember, there are things money can't buy." That peace didn't last. Before noon, the bank called. A journalist was asking questions about a foundation used to move suspicious money linked to the A family. No names were mentioned, but it was obvious where the fire was coming from. Soon after, that same journalist messaged me directly on Instagram. "Give me your side of the story, Danny. If you don't, the people who hate you will." I didn't respond. I just took a screenshot and sent it to Sophia. In the afternoon, Sophia came to our house with a folder. "Good news," she said. "The handwriting expert already confirmed that your mother-in-law's signature on the document doesn't match. And also, your father-in-law. He voluntarily asked for all of the foundation's transactions from the last 10 years to be reviewed." I froze. That meant Carlos, Alvaro's father, was finally acknowledging that something was wrong. But the worst came after. Alvaro received an email from his old swim coach. It said that when he was 16, Teresa had forced him to sign a sponsorship contract in his name, just to divert that money into the same foundation. Alvaro never knew. He put his face in his hands and said, "She's been using me since I was a kid." I hugged him. And I realized this battle wasn't just mine anymore. It was his too. Teresa's war continued. She leaked rumors to the press saying I was a resentful banker who just wanted to take her money. She even dragged in my best friend Nora, making up that she helped me leak documents. That day I exploded. I left Teresa a voice message. "If you keep using my name to invent things, this stops being a family matter and becomes a criminal one." Then something unexpected happened. Aunt Inez, Teresa's sister, came to see us with a shoebox full of old letters. In one of them, Teresa had written, "If Alvaro gets married, everything shifts. I hate that girl. She's worthless." I underlined that sentence with my fingernail. It was proof this wasn't paranoia. Teresa had hated me long before I married her son. With those letters and the emails from the proxy, Sophia built a case file. We had 2 options. 1, take Teresa straight to criminal court. Or 2, force an agreement so she could no longer control the money and an independent committee would handle everything. Alvaro was crushed. If I go the criminal route, I'll be the son who sent his mother to prison. But if I do, nothing. She'll keep destroying us. We finally met at a hotel with Teresa and her lawyer. Sophia was direct. "Either you sign this agreement right now, or tomorrow we take everything to the prosecutor." Teresa laughed in my face. And in exchange for what? In exchange for staying out of jail. There was a long silence. In the end, they accepted. Teresa had to resign from all her powers over the foundation and agree that any money movement would require Alvaro's signature and oversight from a committee. It also included something that made me smile, a clause forbidding her from speaking badly about me or dragging me into her mess. I thought it was over. Until a few days later, I found a mysterious envelope in the mailbox. Inside was a recent notarized act. Teresa, before signing the agreement, had secretly moved a small company that allowed her to keep controlling a hidden fund. The beneficiary was a cousin-in-law who had never been involved in anything. And next, to the document, a handwritten note. The real strings are never in plain sight. J. I felt my blood boil. Teresa hadn't given up. She had only pulled back. And now there was someone else moving pieces in the shadows. The envelope with the note, "The real strings are never in plain sight, J," didn't let me sleep. I placed it on the table as if it were dynamite. Alvaro asked me 20 times who J was, but I had no idea. It could have been anyone. A lawyer, a relative, someone inside the bank, or even one of Teresa's hidden partners. What I did understand was that our war wasn't over. It was just leveling up. 2 days later, I got another surprise. The journalist who had written to me before sent me an email with a single line. Look at tomorrow's headline. I opened the site and almost fell off my chair. The headline read, "Young banker at the center of family scandal. Did she leak data to bring down her millionaire mother-in-law?" And yes, there was my picture, pulled from my social media, looking like I was partying with a drink in my hand. My hands shook. I called Sophia. "This is out of control," I told her. "They're using the press to destroy me." "Calm down, Danny," she replied with the same composure she always had. "A lie runs fast, but when we bring proof, it collapses. What matters is that you don't break." That same afternoon, Nora, my best friend, showed up crying. "Danny, they fired me. Teresa called my boss and said I was working with you to leak documents. It's not true, but my boss doesn't want problems with that family." I felt my blood boil. That woman wasn't just coming after me. She was going after anyone who dared to be close. That night, when I thought nothing could get worse, my phone buzzed with another anonymous message. "If you say more, you'll regret it. Look at the balcony." My heart jumped into my throat. I opened the curtain and saw a camera pointed directly at our apartment from the building across the street. I shut the curtain immediately. Sophia came the next day with an expert who confirmed that yes, we were being watched. We filed a complaint, but deep down, I knew that surveillance wasn't just to intimidate us. It was to catch us making a mistake, to find an excuse. Meanwhile, Alvaro got a message from a familiar number, his cousin Tomas, Teresa's nephew, the same one who appeared as the beneficiary on the document from the envelope. The message said, "We need to talk. There are things you don't know about your mother?" We met at a cafe. Tomas arrived nervous, looking around constantly. "I don't want to be part of this, Alvaro, but your mother is using me. That company she put in my name isn't mine. It never was. She moved it that way to protect herself if everything fell apart. If the judge asks, they'll say I'm the owner, and I'll be the one ending up in jail." I looked at him in disbelief. "Then why did you accept?" "Because she promised me $1 million if I signed. I didn't know I was going to be the scapegoat." Alvaro went pale. "Tomas, do you have proof she did this?" Tomas pulled out his phone and showed us recordings of Teresa. In one, you could clearly hear her saying, "Sign, nephew, it's nothing. If they ask, you say it's yours. That way you protect me, and I'll make sure you never lack anything." Sophia almost jumped with excitement when we showed her the recordings. "This is pure gold," she said. "With this, we can prove your mother-in-law isn't just manipulating financial structures. She's also using relatives as a front." But Teresa didn't stay quiet. The next day, I received an official notice. Someone had filed a complaint against me for improper use of confidential bank information. In the document, there was an email sent by me requesting information on the trust after I had already been removed from the case. But that email was fake. It had my name, my signature, even my writing style, but I had never sent it. My legs trembled. "They're going to fire me," I told Alvaro. "They're going to destroy my career." He hugged me tightly. "No, Danny, not this time. We'll prove it was her." We had a digital expert analyze the email. The result was clear. It had been sent from an IP located at Teresa's house. When Sophia had the report in her hands, she looked at me with a mix of anger and pride. "Your mother-in-law is clever, but not that clever. This isn't just a family fight anymore, Danny. This is a crime." The following days were a roller coaster. The judge agreed to review the new recordings and the digital evidence. Teresa Cornered called for a family meeting. Alvaro didn't want to go, but I insisted. I wanted to see her face. She received us in her mansion, surrounded by expensive paintings and wearing that smile that made my stomach turn. "Look," she said calmly, "we can resolve this among ourselves. Drop the complaints, forget the committee, and I'll guarantee you a comfortable future. What do you want? Houses? Shares? Everything can be negotiated." Alvaro exploded. "What I want is for you to stop controlling everything, Mom. Don't you understand you've ruined my life since I was a child?" Teresa stood up, furious, and pointed at me. "This is all because of her. This woman poisoned you against me. She was never enough for you, Alvaro, and now all she wants is to take what we built." I bit my lip to keep from yelling at her, but I replied slowly, "All I want is for the one who's guilty to pay. And if you think I'm worthless, then remember, it was a worthless person who froze your 10 million. The silence in that room could have been cut with a knife." The next day, Sophia gave us news that changed everything. Teresa's proxy, the one who had signed false documents, was willing to cooperate with the authorities in exchange for protection. And not only that, he was going to hand over records, proving that Teresa had been illegally moving money for at least 15 years, even using her own husband's name without him knowing. Alvaro collapsed on the couch. "What do we do, Danny? If this goes public, my mother could end up in prison." I looked at him with tears in my eyes. "Alvaro, this isn't your fault. She's the one who chose this path." I thought that would be the final blow, but another twist was waiting. One morning, I found another envelope in the mailbox. This time there was no note, only a USB. When we opened it on the computer, there was a video secretly recorded in Teresa's office. In the video, a man in a suit, not a family member, was telling her, "Ma'am, if you fall, we fall too. Don't forget who gave you the first accounts." And Teresa replied, "I'm not going to fall. Others will fall first." That video changed everything. It wasn't just Teresa anymore. There were much bigger players behind her, and clearly they didn't want their names exposed. Sophia summed it up in a phrase that chilled my blood. "This stopped being a mother-in-law quarrel. Now it's a network, and you two are right in the middle." I stared at Alvaro, who was as white as a sheet, and I realized that our marriage, which had started with a "you're not enough," had now turned into a fight where the only thing that could save us was the truth. Even if that truth dragged down an entire family, hidden allies, and a monster we still didn't know how big it really was. And the worst part, we still didn't know who Jay was. When I saw the video on the USB, I realized that what we were facing was much bigger than we had imagined. It wasn't just my mother-in-law trying to hide money. It was an entire network that had grown with her and now seemed to be shaking because someone had decided to push. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Teresa's face telling me I wasn't enough for her son, and the words of that mysterious man in the video, "If you fall, we fall too." I felt like we were in the middle of a storm we couldn't possibly escape without wounds. Alvaro was shattered. He looked at his mother with different eyes, as if suddenly the mask had fallen off, and what remained was someone willing to sacrifice her own son just to keep control. He told me he felt deceived since childhood, used as a living signature, a convenient name to cover money holes. And now he had to decide whether to fully confront his mother or let everything slide, but letting it slide meant destroying both of us. Sophia, always steady, gathered us in her office. She had Inez's letters, Tomas's recordings, the digital expert's report proving the fake emails had come from Teresa's house, and now also the USB with that video. It was enough to sink her, but also dangerous because if those others in the video found out we had it, We didn't know how far they would go. If we move forward, she told us, we have to be ready for everything. And when I say everything, I mean threats, attempts to silence you, losing your peace. If we back off, she'll keep controlling it all and crush you little by little. Alvaro looked at me. His eyes were red, tired, but with a spark I'd never seen before. No more silence, he told me. If we fall together. The following days were hell. The press kept publishing rumors, each one more twisted than the last. That I had planned to marry Alvaro just to get part of the inheritance. That my mother had helped me forge documents, even that I was pregnant and wanted to secure my future. Lies, all lies, but repeated so many times that some people began to believe them. I couldn't go out on the street without feeling people's stares. My mom cried watching the news. "Why are they doing this to you, daughter?" she asked. "What did you do to them?" I didn't know what to answer. In the middle of it all, I got a strange call. It was the same journalist who had pushed me so much before. This time his tone was different. "Danny, listen. I got information that your mother-in-law isn't alone. There are people much higher up who use that foundation to move money. If you're not careful, you could end up paying for what they did." "Who do you think leaked that USB? It wasn't for you, it was to use you. They want you to bring everything into the light so they can wash their hands." "And who is Jay?" I asked with a trembling voice. "That's the problem," he replied. "No one knows. It could be someone in the family, someone at the bank, someone in the network." That night, someone knocked on our apartment door. Alvaro and I looked at each other with fear. When we opened it, there was an envelope left on the floor. Inside were photos of us, taken from different angles. Walking down the street, at the Sabadara Art Cafe, even entering the courthouse. At the end, a paper with letters cut from a magazine. "Stop now, or you'll regret it." I felt my heart leap out of my chest. Alvaro grabbed the photos and tore them angrily. "They won't silence us," he said. Though I could see in his eyes he was just as scared as I was. A few days later, Carlos, Alvaro's father, grew worse. The stress was killing him. At the hospital, he asked to speak to us alone. "Son, Daniela, I allowed this for years. I closed my eyes because it was easier to let Teresa do whatever she wanted than to face her. But now I understand that silence is also guilt. If you have to go against her, do it. But don't destroy her completely. I don't want her to die in a prison." Alvaro cried like I had never seen before. He promised his father he would do the right thing, although at that moment neither of us really knew what the right thing meant. The final hearing was like a movie. Teresa walked in wearing a flawless suit, as arrogant as ever, as if everything we had gathered wouldn't matter. But one by one, the testimonies appeared. Tomas handed over the recordings. The proxy testified under oath how Teresa had pressured him into signing false documents. Inez showed the old letters, and when Sofia presented the video from the USB, the entire courtroom went silent. Teresa went pale. It was the first time I had ever seen her completely lose her composure. "That video is fake," she shouted. "It's a setup." But no one believed her. The judge ruled that the money would remain permanently frozen and that the administration of all the trusts would pass to an independent committee. He also recommended opening a criminal investigation against Teresa for forgery and fraudulent administration. It wasn't immediate prison, but it was the end of her empire. Teresa looked at me on the way out with pure hatred, but also with fear. For the first time, I think she understood that her power had limits. I thought that was the end, but the story had one last twist. A week later, I received an email with no sender and a single attachment, a document showing enormous transfers, made from the same foundation, but to the accounts of politicians, businessmen, and even an international organization. And in the corner of the document, a clear signature. The letter J. I don't know who Jay was. I don't know if it was an enemy of Teresa, a former partner, or someone playing a much bigger game. All I know is that at that moment I understood that what we had lived wasn't just a family feud, but the tip of an iceberg that could sink many people. I closed the laptop and looked at Alvaro. "What do we do with this?" I asked him. He took a deep breath and said, "We do what we should have done all along. Tell the truth. Even if it hurts, even if it costs us everything." And that's how it ended for us, although in reality, it never truly ended. Teresa was left isolated, unable to move a cent without her son's signature. The family split apart. Some supported us, others hated us. I lost my peace, but I gained something I never thought I would. The certainty that I really was enough, not because she or money said so, but because I endured when everyone wanted me to break. And even though I know there are still invisible strings moving in the shadows, I'm no longer afraid. Because now I know I'm not alone, and in the end, the truth always finds its way into the light.